It's so simple. He's telling you exactly what he wants. The words coming out of his mouth it's what he means. The problem is so many women have been conditioned to dealing with liars and manipulators. Some of you, or many of you, are so used to dealing with the wrong men, you don't understand what's actually valued by the right one. You don't understand what's actually needed from the man who wants to pour into you as well. A lot of men desire support, love, feminine energy, female companionship. Let's say a guy says, ask the man, what do you want for your birthday? And he says, listen, let's just watch a movie together, have some pizza, drink some liquor, I'm good. Have some sex, that's all I need for the night. And the woman thinks, let me get him a wallet.
He's like, no, I didn't ask for that.
Exactly. Like, it's so simple. He's telling you exactly what he wants. The words coming out of his mouth it's what he means. The problem is so many women have been conditioned to dealing with liars and manipulators, dealing with men who are playing games, that when they are with a good man who's being forthcoming and honest, they don't know how to take that. And also because women are they're in the details, all right? So they are going to see what you need. They're going to analyze and say, okay, I can get this for him. They're more thoughtful in their approach. They go deeper, which is why they become so frustrated with us, because we don't. When we don't understand that when they said, I'm okay, that they really weren't okay, that bothers them. When they told us we don't want anything for Valentine's Day, but they really wanted something and we didn't get that, that bothers them, because it's like, why aren't we looking deeper? Why aren't we learning them and being more in tune with them? Because that's how they are with us. And so again, it's a disconnect of we operate very differently, but if they would just understand, we're very simple. And the man who wants to be with you, who wants to love you, is being very plain and clear. And if you would just honor and accept that, it would make things so much easier.
And if a man knew X about a woman, they would have a happy life.
What's the right word? It really goes back to understand that her emotions, I'm trying to find the right way to phrase this, but it's really understanding the emotional side of the woman. And what I mean by that is, again, if you're with a woman, let's say you guys are walking down the street, and she says, I don't feel safe right now, all right? To a man, we may analyze the area and say, well, there's nothing of danger here. What's your problem? You're crazy. No, don't do that. If she says, I don't feel safe, you have to understand how she feels. That's her emotion right now. And her emotion is reality to her. She may not be able to explain it. It may be something within her spirit. But as men, we make a mistake of dismissing it because it doesn't line up with our logic. And now it's, you're crazy, you're this, you're that, rather than no. Try to understand she's feeling like this for a reason. And even if we can't always explain it, honor it. Now, the man's concern is, well, now she can manipulate you and play you, because even when it doesn't make any sense, she can say, I feel this way. But if you're with a good woman and she's been good to you in every other way, why question that she's playing games now? Give her the benefit of the doubt. So I think if we would just learn to embrace what her emotions are at the moment, we would be able to have more peace. Because again, a lot of fights come from you're trying to force your logic onto her. She's trying to tell you how she feels right now.
Right.
And it's like this. No, meet her where she's feeling right now. Acknowledge that. Say, okay, you know what? I understand it. Let's handle it from that perspective.
Why is it so hard for let's talk about men in this situation, to acknowledge someone's feelings when in the man's mind, you might be acting crazy. These feelings are irrational. Why would I acknowledge irrational feelings when there's nothing to be afraid of in this moment? If that's what a man is feeling, how do they get out of that space and say, okay, this is irrational. In my mind, maybe this does seem crazy because I don't feel this personally. How does a man learn to connect on that level so that they feel safe in that moment, even if it is irrational?
So 3 things. It's going to be awareness. Why did I just lose my train of thought for the second one?
Awareness, yep.
Awareness, I'm missing the second one. And then communication at times when things are not chaotic. All right. So the problem is you can't be trying to have this full deep discussion at this. If you feel like she's being irrational, if you feel like this is not making any sense, now you're trying to have this deeper discussion that maybe she's not ready to have at the moment. All right. She's feeling all over the place. Who knows what's triggering her right now? Wait till things are calm. And now let's revisit what happened the other day.
Don't fix it when it's chaotic.
Exactly. It's almost like, sometimes a woman doesn't want you to fix it. She wants you to listen and acknowledge how she feels. And so we can revisit it at a different time, but in that time, she needs you to embrace where she's at emotionally.
What if the man's just like, it doesn't make sense? You're making no sense right now. What you're saying is irrational. Maybe it's illogical. It's crazy. None of it makes sense. How do they wrap their heads around the madness of the emotion that is not real to them?
It really is. It's about practice. So that was the second
Awareness,
thing. Awareness, practice, communication. So the practicing of it is just simply understanding, listen, it doesn't always have to make sense. All right? What does it hurt you in that moment to just be more compassionate and considerate of how she's feeling, even if it doesn't line up with your logic right then? You know what I'm saying? And again, we can revisit this and use it as a moment to now learn more about each other. But right now is not the time.
So tomorrow, 3 days later, we can say, hey, listen, you know that time when we were walking down the street and you were afraid, nothing was around? Can we talk about that?
Exactly. And now we can gain better understanding, because at that moment, it may be easier for her to articulate it. But in the moment of her emotions running all over the place, it's going to be hard for her to get it out clearly. Not because she's trying to be difficult. It's just she's feeling all over the place. It's just hard. It's like, think about a child, and I'm not trying to reduce women to children, but think about a child being in their frantic moment, something happening to them, and you're saying, tell me what's wrong. They can't tell you. It's hard for them to say it. But once they're calmed down and at a better place, they can.
Absolutely.
So we got to be patient as well. We got to be patient with each other and give grace. We're going to have moments where, it may not make sense. But again, overall, if you're with a good woman, why act like she's being difficult or evil right now?
Absolutely.
There's
a lot of good women. Speaking of good women, there's a lot of good women out there that are friends of mine who are single. And they've been single for years. Okay. I'm thinking of a few of them specifically in my mind. So I'm going to speak to these women's archetype, because I think there's a lot of women like this out there. They've been single they've been dating, but they haven't been in a committed long-term relationship for a while. Good women. They make their own money, they're independent, they're kind, they're compassionate, they're loving, they've got their own vision, but they're struggling in finding the right guy who will commit. What do you think is missing from those women? Or is this a timing thing? Maybe it's like, hey, you've been trying this for 8-10 years and you haven't found someone. Maybe it's still timing. Maybe they haven't showed up in your life yet. But if they're going on dates, they're doing these things, and they still haven't been able to find a partner that feels like a good match, the right match, what's missing from them? Or is nothing missing?
It's hard to say, because, without knowing them individually, the issues can vary. I'll tell you what I've seen as common barriers for women. One of the most common, and they may not like hearing this, but one of the most common is a lacking of being in touch with their feminine side. And that only really plays a huge role dependent on the type of man they desire. If they desire a very masculine man who has his stuff together, a guy who can be a leader, at least has those qualities, then not being in your feminine is going to work against you. You're going to come across more difficult. You're not going to come across as someone that's peaceful. And again, I think every man who has stuff going on for himself can say what he needs almost most importantly, or at least near the top, is peace. Every man needs peace.
Oh man, I've been saying that my whole life. Peace.
And so if he does not view you in that way, because again, you project more masculine energy, you project more resistance, more of a difficult nature, he's not gonna, you could be the most beautiful, amazing woman. It's like, and he may want to sleep with you, but he's not gonna want to take you serious or marry you. So that can be one problem. Another thing can be timing. It's a lot of times is, we have to understand everything doesn't happen tomorrow. There is a process to this. But in that timing, what's important is that you don't drag on with the wrong men.
Yes.
A lot of women reduce their time or reduce their window of opportunity staying with the wrong guys, dating even the wrong guys. So it doesn't have to be a committed relationship. It could just be you're dating and getting to know each other, but you knew after a couple days that he wasn't it. and yet you're still letting it continue. And even though you're not fully committed in this relationship as an official boyfriend, girlfriend, you're emotionally invested. And your ability to now be available to someone else is severely hindered. So you're not going to be able to meet that great guy, or that great guy may come across you, hear that you're dating this guy, and say, I'm not even going to bother with that.
Yeah.
And so that hurts you. So timing is it, but you have to make sure you're leaving yourself available.
Here's a question. Do we stay in relationships longer when we haven't fully healed the past?
Hell yes. Absolutely.
I'll probably raise my hand here for pretty much every past relationship where I have known at different levels, like something's not right, something's off. Okay, let's work on it. Let's try to make it work. Still things are off. It's like you have a knowing inside, and sometimes you try to force it to make it work. And I'm as one to blame as anyone here. And what I realized is like, oh, I haven't fully healed certain things. And it's why I've stayed in the past in relationships much longer than I probably should have. Mm-hmm. But I was afraid. I was afraid of hurting someone. I was afraid of hurting myself. I was afraid of whatever.
Yeah.
And when I started to learn that, like, this is something you talked about over and over, that the healing process is the key process to build a foundation for the potential for a great relationship, for something to flourish.
Yes.
You want to have, the dream is to have a rainforest of an environment in your relationship where things can grow, things can flourish. There's green trees around you. There's waterfalls, not an environment of a desert where things go to die in the relationship.
Yes.
And I don't think we can truly allow things to grow if we don't learn to heal. And that's something that you taught me years ago, and you teach so many people around the world this. But if people don't even think they need to heal something, how do they do it?
They can't. There's no way. You can't overcome an obstacle you don't believe exists.
Right.
Like,
I'm fine, I got this. Nah, I've dealt with this stuff in the past. Like, that was me.
Exactly. And so the problem is most people don't heal until they hit a wall, until something, knocks them on their behind, and now they have to see things differently and accept the issues that they've been holding on to. But also, I think the problem for a lot of individuals is they're not healed, and they're in environments with people who haven't healed either. And now those unhealed people are going to validate your issues. They're going to validate your unwillingness to face those things.
This is so hard because, whatever, guy friends, girlfriends, whoever you are, and you lean on people and say, this person did this, and they validate you and say, leave them. They're no good for you. You deserve better. You don't deserve that. They shouldn't be doing this, right? They start to validate, to be on your side, but they're not healed either if they're coming from that place. Maybe they're correct on certain things, but it's learning how to communicate to your friends in a healthier way probably also.
Well, but I think, yes, because a lot of people, they tell their friends the bad and they don't always tell them the good.
Yeah.
So the friends have a very skewed perception of the relationship or whatever situation that you're facing. But we also have to be aware enough to understand who we're seeking guidance from. Like, I may speak to my friends because I need to vent at the moment, or I want some feedback, but I'm fully aware that they are not the end-all be-all to this, that they may be speaking from their own hurt place. I still can filter their perspective through the understanding of they're not healed enough to give me full, proper, great guidance, all right? But they might give a perspective that I needed to look at. And that's why I will still talk to them, because I want to hear different perspectives. I want to make sure I'm not missing any blind spots here, all right? So it's good to talk to different people, but only if you understand how to not just take them as, oh, well, my friend said this, so this is it. No, your friend may be broken too, and they're going to lead you down an even more broken path.
Exactly. So the conversations you have with some people, they're not healed and they're not helping you fully because they're validating something that you don't need to hear necessarily.
Absolutely.
Maybe some of it is right, but not all of it.
And not to mention, it can happen in other ways, as far as, like, I've seen people where the friend was in a toxic relationship that they were unwilling to leave. So now when their other friend came to them about their toxic relationship, give them a chance. Cheating happens in every relationship. They'll come up with all these validations to stay because they can't look themselves in the mirror and tell themselves to walk away. So how are they going to tell you to do it?
So
All right.
hard.
Now, some people can do that. Some people can still tell you opposite of what they're going to actually are willing to do. But a lot of people, unconsciously or subconsciously, are trying to validate how they would handle things or how they have handled things. All right. So if it's I would leave because someone called me out there out my name one time, then I have to tell you that you got to leave for that reason.
Right.
I can't tell you to be considerate of, well, maybe it was a mistake, maybe this can be fixed. Oh, no, because I drew that line, you need to draw that line. A lot of people don't understand how to give that unbiased advice. So that's why you have to be very careful
Absolutely.
going to friends and family.
Healing is, again, a lot of clarity comes through healing. You'll be able to see things differently in a relationship if you are from a healed place. I think a lot of us, myself included, has stayed in relationships longer than necessary because we haven't healed something yet, and that's why we stayed in them. So would you say that people who have healed and addressed the past, the traumas of the past, the pains of the past, are much quicker to get out of a dating situation when they realize, oh, this isn't for me. Like, I thought it was going to work out, but I don't need to keep trying for months and years to try to make it work. It's not working. I'm willing to walk away. Would you say people healed are able to do that better?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Basically, the more healed you become, or when you have become healed, your willingness or ability to tolerate toxic energy is diminished. You don't know how to operate or how to stay in those environments any longer because now you see things so much clearer. It's almost like if you were to detox your body and start to eat healthy. Now you go back to eating some fast food and it will destroy your stomach.
Yeah.
So your willingness to eat that bad food is no longer there, or at least it's diminished because now your body knows what healthy feels like.
Ooh.
All right. So emotionally, once you get to a healthy place and you know what healthy is, you can't tolerate dysfunction as much anymore. You can't tolerate someone who does not want to face their issues. You know, it reminds me right now real quick of even when it comes to business. Or you know what, even when it comes to fitness, a lot of people, once they've achieved great success or once they've achieved getting that body they always wanted, they look at those who do not have differently. Before, they may have been in that pool of people that said, my circumstances, there's nothing I can do, it's too hard. But once you've achieved it and you knew what work it took to get there, now it's like, no, you're just unwilling. You don't have enough desire to push past the obstacles to get the results you're looking for. And so again, when you become healthy, your willingness to tolerate this person just can't get past their issues. It's like, no, because I got past mine.
Right.
I know
Right,
what
right.
it takes. I know you can get there if you're willing. But so many are not willing.
Let's say you got in a relationship, you got married, you've been committed for a while, and neither of you have healed. But then one of you decides, you know what, this isn't working. I gotta heal the pain from the past. They go on that journey, they get relief, they find peace in their heart, they're not triggered, whatever it is. They've started and have continually been on the healing process. But the other person continues to be in their own traumatic past experiences. What if they're not willing to heal? Would you recommend, is that relationship able to work still? Are you able to find ways to say, well, we still love each other and we have a lot of chemistry and connection most of the time? What would you say about that? If the other person's unwilling to heal?
I hate to say this, but I have to be honest.
Yeah.
All right. I can never encourage someone to remain in a toxic situation. All right. I do think that we can take an approach that says, let's see if we can work this out. Let's give them a little bit of grace here. And the main thing is, can we achieve progress? All right. Rome isn't built in a day. And if we've been behaving or we've been tolerating this dysfunction for so many years, we can't expect it to be perfect tomorrow. But are you willing to at least start to walk on that path and make progress? Though I don't want to encourage divorce, I cannot feel comfortable telling people to stay trapped in a marriage with someone who doesn't want to face their issues.
Right.
If you have freed yourself from that, you have healed, they've got to be willing to make a move. And here's the problem. People are afraid to heal, or people are afraid to face the issues that requires them to heal. All right. because you have to, it's like, I remember a quote, and I'm probably saying it wrong. To heal, you have to face the pain, or you have to dive into the pain, something like that, all right? So people understand it's painful to go and revisit your past. It's painful to let those emotions you've suppressed all these years come back out. And so now your fear of healing or facing the process of healing is greater than your fear of losing this person. All right. And they think because you're married to them, you're not going anywhere.
You're stuck for life.
Exactly. So for that reason, that's not enough incentive to face their fear of facing their issues. Wow. The only thing that may get them to do it is the threat of divorce.
Wow.
Or is the actual divorce happening? Again, it's not that I want it to get to that point. I hope and pray everyone can avoid that. But the reality is some people won't get it together until there's a real consequence on the table. And that will be divorce in that situation.
So, okay, let's say someone's like, you know what? I feel like I'm good. It's never been about me. It's been about everyone else. It's their problems that why the relationship doesn't work out.
Hold on, I gotta stop you real quick.
Yes.
Because this is like hitting my spirit. I gotta say
Give it to me.
The other thing to consider is that some people will never change. They will never heal. And the reality is that the person you're with is the wrong person. And the only reason you got with them is because you were broken. Had you not been damaged in the first place,
Zing.
You may not be with this individual.
Because you wouldn't have chose someone like this if you were coming from a healed place.
Exactly. And if you were healed, you would have been your true self. Your true self may not have aligned with this individual. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't circumstances where people still end up with the right person when they were both not healed. I do think that's possible to happen. But a lot of people, I would argue the majority, because I always say if you're not healed, you are 99% likely to choose the wrong person. So I do still strongly believe that the majority of people are with the wrong individual. And that's marriage, relationship, whatever. Because that brokenness, that damage
attracted something else that was broken.
And allowed you to tolerate it. Or it allowed you to feel safer in that environment. Wow. Here's the thing that people don't realize. When you have not healed, if you were to get with a healthy person, it would essentially demand of you from the jump to basically heal or step your game up. And again, people are afraid to face their issues. So to get with another broken person, subconsciously, it validates me staying broken. It validates me not having to face my issues because now we all have issues. You see, as long as we all have issues, I don't have to face mine. But if you have corrected yours, how can I validate my own?
Wow. What's your issues?
My issues?
The coach always has an issue somewhere. What's your biggest fear or insecurities around being in a relationship or finding the right person or dating or?
So, okay, I'll say fear. And I'm being very transparent. I've never said this anywhere else. All right?
I know you haven't. Your biggest fear?
My biggest fear has been, can I remain focused and fulfilled in the relationship long-term past a certain time? Meaning, okay, I have no doubts 5 years in, 10 years in, I'm still good. But when it hits year 15, this is different. And again, it's because of, one, I think a lot of people, the issue that we have is specifically even with monogamy. Not saying that I'm going to be going out there cheating, but I always say the issue with monogamy is that people struggle to maintain monogamy. Mm-hmm. And we struggle to maintain monogamy because we don't maintain who we fell in love with. All right?
What do you mean by that?
Meaning that person that I brought you and you brought to me that made us feel like this is it.
It's different.
It's different now. The thing is, though, it can be maintained if it's the true you. Problem is a lot of people aren't being their true self from the jump. Right. So that creates a difference right there. Also, is there a willingness to grow together? Mm-hmm. And that needs communication. That means connection has to be there. A lot of people have not gotten with that person they have a connection with. So this is where, for me, there's fear, but there's peace in knowing that I do believe if I'm willing to do my part to maintain who she falls in love with, all right? Whoever that woman is, when that day happens, I'm willing to do that. And that goes spiritually, mentally, physically. I have no problem sticking to the recipe that worked. And I'm confident in one end because I say, you know what? I believe in connection. And I believe that that's the missing ingredient. When I look at these relationships that have failed and haven't made it past that 10-year, 15-year mark, I do think that the reason is connection was not there in most cases.
So chemistry was there.
Chemistry may have been there at one point.
First, compatibility.
Yes. Compatibility based on what they were presenting at one point may have been there. But again, was it true compatibility if they weren't being their true self? And if they had not found their true self yet? But connection was not there. And I think a lot of people get with each other based off the hype. And that's the reason why I'm such a stickler on, okay, I have to make sure I wait for connection because I want to make it past those 15 years. I want to make it for the long haul. I want to be a representation of what I speak about. I want people to look at my relationship and say, I don't want it to be that fake relationship that people think is good, but it's actually horrible behind closed. No, I want us to be amazing to everyone and inspire them. So I have to wait for connection, and me being a man of God, I have to wait for that spiritual guidance that says this is the one, that I can pray about this and God tells me she's it. Because, there's a lot of beautiful, amazing women out there, but everyone's not for us.
Right.
And so I think it's important to understand who aligns with you, especially as a man when you're walking in your purpose. And that's why it's so important for men to find their purpose, because if you don't know where you're headed in life, you don't know who belongs on that path with you. So you've got to make sure that you know yourself, you know the direction you're walking in, and now you can see what woman can align with you, and you guys can walk together as a unit and make it something amazing. But let's get into it. Now, I'm stressing good men because I know a lot of you might look at some of these things I'm going to mention and say, well, men don't want this, or they act like they don't value that. And the reality is that some of you, or many of you, are so used to dealing with the wrong men, you don't understand what's actually valued by the right one. You don't understand what's actually needed from the man who wants to pour into you as well. So I'm stressing these are the qualities that good men value. Relationship-minded, serious men, what they want in a woman. All right? So let's get right to it. Number one is a positive attitude or positive energy. Listen, the wrong man, the man who just wants to have sex with you, he does not care about your attitude and energy, because that guy is focused on how you look, what he can get from you, how you're going to be a convenience to him. All right? So in that regard, he is not turned off by a negative attitude. He's not turned off by bad energy. He's not turned off if you come off too masculine. And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video, so stick around to the end of the video. But he's not deterred by that. He doesn't care about that. But a good man, a man who wants a relationship, a man who's serious-minded, is looking for a woman who brings positivity in his life. Listen, what man wants to deal with the stress of the world and then have to come home to the stress of his woman? He doesn't want that. Now, when I say the stress of his woman, I don't mean he's going to be unwilling to deal with when you are stressed and help you. I just mean that he wants a woman that can bring positivity and love into his life, someone that can uplift him in that way, someone that can essentially bring peace to his world. And so when you're not exuding that kind of energy, you're going to have a harder time meeting a good man, because some of you are good women, but you're not positive women. You don't exude that energy that makes a man feel like, okay, I can establish a life with her. Now, I don't want you to feel triggered by this video or insulted in any kind of way, but I want to present these facts to you in a way that's going to be helpful and to highlight where you may be looking at things the wrong way, which contributes to not getting the results that you're looking for. So this isn't just about knowing what he wants so that you can give it to him. It's also knowing about what he wants so that you can start attracting better into your life as well. Okay? So positive attitude, positive energy, that's one of the top things a good man is looking for. Second on the list, and this is in no particular order, but second on the list that a good man is looking for or really wants in a woman is physical attraction. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, looks shouldn't matter. And it's what's on the inside that counts. And yes, what's on the inside counts most, but we cannot act like what's on the outside has no contribution to the dynamic whatsoever. It's gonna have an impact We all do it. Now, some of us may be more flexible than others. Some of us may not be as picky, but physical attraction, all right, does play a role. And now, notice I said physical attraction, not necessarily looks. When we say looks, we're highlighting more so very specifics as far as people say, okay, they got to look like this, they have to have this type of body type, so on and so forth. A good man is not as like locked into it has to be this, and that, but he does want physical attraction. And even if he has a certain type in his head, if he meets a woman that he has a connection with and there's an attraction there, he will still more than likely be willing to embrace that. But what I need for a lot of women to understand is that attraction is not love, okay? And the reason why it's important, and you can read about this more in my book, How to Get a Man to Cherish You. Don't get triggered by the title, all right? There's more to it than you realize. I got the link in the description, in the comments section. Trust me, you will understand after you read the book. But in my book, How to Get a Man to Cherish You, I break down the fact that a lot of women start to look at love and attraction as the same. For example, woman gets married, and let's say she starts to gain some weight. She's not looking the way she used to look, okay? And it's a strong deviation from what she used to look like. And now the man starts to lose attraction. And she'll say, well, he doesn't love me anymore. And I will say to that woman, no, it's not that he does not love you anymore. He's struggling with being attracted to you. And when we're talking about romantic relationships, attraction is important because a man or a good man can love you regardless of how you look, all right? Can love you, meaning that even if you weren't in a relationship with him, if he loves you, he loves you. Your looks his love is not contingent on your look. However, to desire being in a committed romantic relationship with you, now attraction is a real factor. And we can't simply dismiss it and say, well, if you love them, it wouldn't matter. It plays a role. Yes, I do believe wholeheartedly that when there is true love and true connection, we are more flexible with it. But again, it's still a part of the equation. We don't just simply dismiss it. And when attraction goes out the window, respect starts to go out the window. Affection goes out the window. Sexual pleasure goes out the window. So many things now fall to the wayside because we've now neglected the need to maintain attraction. So to get back to the original point, yes, attraction is something even good men desire, and I would argue everyone desires a level of attraction to their partner. It's not about specific looks, but it is about attraction being there. Number 3 thing that men really want in a woman, or good men really want in a woman, is transparency. Now, this is a big one I don't think women are completely grasping, all right? Because here's the thing. Men are very logical thinkers. We don't speak in code. We say what it is, that's it. And again, we're focusing on good men. So don't start with well, these dudes be saying all this, that, and the other and confusing you. Those are not good men. Those are men who are not meant to be in your life. They do not apply to what I'm talking about here. But a good man and a man who's serious about you, all right, he's looking to have transparency. He doesn't want to play this I have to figure you out game, all right? It's not that he won't love you enough to want to try to dig deeper and discover things on his own, but don't make it stressful for him. He's not looking for the woman who's going to make it this constant process of having to interpret and analyze and figure out and connect the dots on his own. That's stressful. That's exhausting. So when a woman can be transparent, when she can be forthcoming, that is welcomed, again, by the good man, by the man who's serious about you. He wants and needs and desires your transparency. He wants you to tell him what's wrong. He wants you to tell him when you desire something. He wants you to let him know what you want to eat that day. Like, some of you can't even tell him that. And that's just not really a big one, but I'm just saying, like, he wants transparency. And when you can provide that, that's definitely going to attract him to you, because for a lot of men, that's not something that they get from the average woman. it feels like a game of having to figure things out, which is why you hear men complain about how confusing women are. Because women will say, well, they're communicating, but in reality, they're communicating in a way that they feel conveys the message, but to that man, it's not coming across clearly. Because she's not really being transparent. She's speaking in a way that she feels like you should be able to figure this out and see beyond what's going on. Now, I'm not saying every woman behaves that way, but that is very common. So when you can provide transparency, trust and believe that is definitely something a good man values and desires in a woman. Number 4, the number 4 thing men really want in a woman is a willingness to listen. All right. So you heard transparency just now. We want you to be able to tell us what's going on and be forthcoming and honest. But we also want you to be willing to listen to when we have something to say to you. Now, please do not be quick to jump and think this is about just taking orders and doing as I say. No. It's simply about starting with just be willing to listen. Many times men find themselves in situations or with women who are talking over them, who are just listening to rebuttal, who aren't actually listening. She's hearing him, all right? She hears the audible voice in her ears, but she's so busy processing and analyzing, she's not listening to him. And so a lot of men stop talking and expressing themselves to that woman because they feel like it's pointless. They're not being heard. Now, of course, it's on that man to recognize that if you cannot talk to this woman, why are you even with her? But this video is about what men really want in a woman. And so I want the women to be aware that, yes, you have to show a willingness to listen. You have to show a willingness to pause yourself, stop overthinking in that moment, and just listen to what he has to say and not overanalyze what he's saying. So, for example, quick story. There was once a person I know who went to a counselor with their husband. At the time, I wasn't available to help them out. And so the counselor had him do an exercise where she asked the husband to tell the wife how he felt. And he went on and said how he felt and expressed himself. And then she asked the wife, repeat verbatim what he just said. And they spent over the next hour without the wife being able to say exactly what the husband just said. It was a bunch of, well, I think you mean this, or what you're trying to say is that. She was essentially constantly interpreting, analyzing, and not twisting it like she's trying to manipulate the words, but she wasn't processing it just as he said it. And so a lot of women don't always realize that you're not processing it just as he said it. And again, some of this is due to the fact that you're so used to dealing with wrong men, bad men, that who are being manipulative and lying, that you have to now try to figure out what the real message is and what's really going on, that now you don't know how to take a man's word who is a good man, who is trying to be honest with you and forthcoming. You think it's something else going on when it's really not. You've got to be willing to embrace what he's saying. So you've got to be willing to listen. He wants a woman who is willing to listen. When you don't show that quality, you make it very difficult for a man to embrace wanting to be serious with you in a relationship. All right, number 5 on the list of what men really want in a woman, all right, is your respect. This is a big deal. You have to understand, I'm sure some of you have heard where women value security, men value respect, all right? To be with a woman who he doesn't feel like he's respected by, it's not a desirable thing. It's not something that he's going to want to deal with for the rest of his life. Now, some men, many men have fallen into those type of relationships, and those men are miserable right now. And those men are retaliating in very unhealthy ways. It's causing all kinds of destruction. And yes, don't get me wrong. I do believe that for the men listening to this, you have to give her something to respect. You cannot simply think that she should just respect you despite doing things to the contrary, doing things that make her question you, make her not be able to give you that respect willingly. But on the flip side, as a woman, you do have to be willing to give it as well. If you're holding on to past trauma, if you're holding on to bad experiences from your past, and so your level of respect is limited because you feel like giving that makes you too vulnerable, that's a problem that's on you, not him. But one way or another, this dynamic does not work without respect. And what the man wants, what a good man wants, what good men all over the world desire is a woman who respects them, loves and respects them. And let's be real, if you don't respect them, you can't love them. So he knows without your respect, he's not going to get what he's looking for out of you. Now, some men, again, they've made the mistake and gone down the wrong path with that. But make no mistake that is a very important thing. And that is something that the men are looking for or want in a woman. So respect has to be there. And if for some reason you don't feel like he deserves your respect, then I will also ask you, why are you with him? Why are we dealing with people we don't respect? That makes no sense whatsoever. There's no point in trying to continue a relationship if we're not going to find ways to embrace respecting each other. So that needs to happen one way or another. Resolve the issues or this can't work at all. Number 6, and remember, a quick reminder again, get your copy of How to Get a Man to Cherish You. Again, I remind you, do not be triggered by the title. Just click the link in the description or in the comment section. You will understand once you read it. You will enjoy it. But let's get to number 6. Number 6 is loyalty and support. Now, I put those two things together even though you could separate them. But one way or another, men, especially good men, they are valuing, and really men, period, they're valuing loyalty and support. Now, please do not confuse support with carrying this man on your back, with building him up to become a man, someone who does not have the right foundation in his life, who does not have the work ethic or the desire to make things happen. I do not want you to get caught up in projects, okay? Because that is not that is an unhealthy dynamic. That's not going to be good for the long-term relationship. But yes, support, encouraging, believing in him, all right? Understanding that he has to make time for his dreams. So working with him and creating a balance that allows him to pour into the relationship and into his purpose. Because purpose is what it's really about. Like, it's not even just about career and dreams. It's about purpose. So if you're a man listening to this, you've got to lock into your purpose. And if you're a woman, you've got to make sure that you can support that purpose. If that purpose does not work for you, if it's out of alignment with what you see in your life, then don't try to force the issue in this relationship, because then you will not be able to provide him with the support that he needs. All right. So there has to be an understanding, or we have to be on the same page when it comes to that. But also loyalty is so huge. Listen, men don't want, and this may sound bad, but I'm just going to keep it real. Men don't want the woman who's for everybody. All right. Now, some of you may say, well, I've seen plenty of women who y'all think is for everybody, and she has a man. Listen, because yes, it's not the end all be all, and some men may not care, but I'm going to tell you that a lot of men, that is an important thing to them. They don't want the woman who's for everybody, and they want the woman who they feel like has their back, is going to stick with them. Because it's one thing for a man to expect you to carry him or carry him on your back and get him somewhere, versus don't abandon me when I'm having a rough moment. Don't look down on me when I'm struggling. Don't disrespect me when I'm in a moment of weakness. All right? You've got to show that, yes, I'm going to still pour that love and respect and support into you, even in a bad moment. But again, for that man, you have to show her that those are just moments. That's not going to be your continuous character. That you're not just going to be dwelling in the bottom, expecting her to always drag you out of it. No, you got to show that, yes, I'm going to be the man who does what I'm supposed to do, but we all have moments. And as a woman, I'm going to be there for you and show you that I still can pour into you what you need, even in those moments. So loyalty and support is a huge deal, and something that men, especially good men, want in a woman. And now number 7, I saved it for last because to me, it kind of sums up everything that we were talking about today, but I'm very big on this, and I think it's extremely important, and that's feminine energy. All right? Now here's the thing. I love y'all. I love every last one of y'all watching this video. The reality is that a lot of women have become detached from their feminine energy. A lot of women don't realize that you're exuding a lot of masculine energy that is repellent to good men. Again, the men who only want to have sex with you, the men who want to use you, the men who are not serious about you, do not care about your masculine energy. If anything, women who carry or exude a lot of masculine energy, you have no problem in a lot of cases attracting good-for-nothing men who have nothing going on for themselves, who are looking to leech off of you. Because to that man, he will deal with your masculine energy because he's looking at the come up of your financial stability, of your ability to give him a place to sleep, to feed him, to give him sex. He's looking at the other things that he knows you may be willing to tolerate with him in exchange for dealing with things that really aren't desirable to the man who has his stuff together, or to the good man who's serious about you or serious about trying to find a real relationship. So you've got to be mindful of not falling into the trap of thinking this masculine energy that you're giving off isn't a real problem. It really is. And let me just tell you, beyond men, forget men for a second. It's a problem for you. Whether you realize it or not, that masculine energy that you keep holding on to, that you're exuding so much, is stress. It is emotional stress. It is wreaking havoc on you and inside of you, all right? It is wearing you down. It is not making you happy. It does not bring you peace. And it is a defense mechanism in a lot of cases because you use it as your wall up. You use it to not be too vulnerable. You use it as this method of protection. That's how you processed it. But the reality is, it's not protecting you, it's hurting you. I tell people all the time, the same walls you have up to protect you, the same walls blocking your blessings. So you don't realize how this masculine energy is actually blocking blessings, and it is deteriorating your health. Whether you realize it or not, this is real. I'm not making this up. I'm telling you, this is a real issue. So beyond just men, I want to encourage you to learn how to get in touch with your feminine energy. Now, I will make videos on that, but in the meantime, there are videos you can find on YouTube about feminine energy, and I encourage you to look at them. I don't want you to just look at my videos. I want you to simply learn and become better and live a higher quality of life. But I will provide those videos, and I have bigger plans as far as discussing feminine energy and masculine energy, because both sides need to understand the energy that's going to be more beneficial to them in the long run. And there's a lot more to it, but we won't get into all the other stuff. Bottom line is, good men who want relationships, they want feminine energy out of their woman. And when you're tapping into that feminine energy, that respect gets easier. That positive energy gets easier. That support and loyalty gets, all those other things we talked about, everything gets easier when you're more in tune with your feminine energy. And I'm confident you'll be able to find women who will comment on this video, who will attest to the power of the feminine energy, who will tell you how beneficial it has been for them to make the switch from masculine to feminine. And for you to make that switch, it will more than likely require healing from your past. You're gonna have to address some past traumas, some issues, some hurts you've been holding on to, because it has created that negative energy that has then poured into the masculine energy that you're exuding out there. All right? So now this is a topic that comes up a lot, and to be honest with you, a lot of women ask me this. They really question, is this the only motivation for men? Is this all they're concerned about? Or why are men so fixated on sex? Now, let me make it very clear. Men do not only want sex. Men do want sex, all right, in a general sense, all right? Most people do at some point. But is that all they want? No. But let me go deeper into what you're seeing and why it looks like men only want sex. First, let me start with this reality. There are a lot of men, whether you realize it or not, who embrace abstinence in their life. Some of you may be gasping right now saying, no, that can't be real. No, it's very real. There are a lot of men who embrace abstinence or even understand the power of abstinence. However, men are not allowed to feel comfortable announcing or speaking on that because, unfortunately, a lot of women don't believe them. or a lot of women question their sexuality. They get some kind of backlash, or even other guys looking down at them, clowning them, you know what I'm saying, not respecting their position, not respecting their path, and so they keep quiet about it. So you don't hear men speaking on it much out loud to the general public, but a lot more than you realize are abstinent or are willing to embrace abstinence or willing to embrace waiting on sex. However, it's with the right woman for some of those guys. Some guys in general are going to do it, and some guys, it's going to take the right woman for them to be willing to embrace that. But again, that's not something they are announcing. Also, the other issue to consider when we talk about do men only want sex, or why does it seem like men only want sex, is that here's what happens in a lot of situations. There are some scenarios where a man meets a woman, really thinks there's some kind of potential here, really thinks, okay, we can become something serious, and their focus with her is not sex initially. Again, doesn't mean they wouldn't want to have it, doesn't mean they wouldn't enjoy getting it, but they're not focused on that. However, somewhere in the interaction or trying to get to know her, that man may determine she's not what I thought. And I no longer see a future with her. I no longer desire anything more serious. Now, the unfortunate reality at that point for a lot of men, not all men, is that even if he determines he no longer wants you as something serious, he will still want the consolation prize of getting sex from you. All right? And so now his focus becomes sex. And so now to the woman in that scenario, you may assume or think this is all he ever wanted. This is all he was ever coming after me for. But in reality, no. He actually wanted more at one point, but he pivoted and now he only wants the sex. Now, I am not saying that to validate it or make it okay or whatever. I'm explaining to you what's actually happening and why or how this contributes to the perception that men only want sex when that is not the case. The reality is that a lot of men desire support, love, feminine energy, female companionship, someone they can talk to. They do want these other things, but they don't want it with every woman, all right? And so if a man now meets 10 women tomorrow, as I say in other videos, you can meet 100 people tomorrow, 99 of them ain't for you. And so with that 99, some men will still try to entertain enjoying her in other ways, in sexual ways, even though he no longer sees a future with her. And so it just adds to the perception that's all the man wants. But no, he desires more. And I would also argue that as the man gets older, or as he's dealt with more and more women, his focus of sex diminishes. All right, he will still have a desire for it in general, but his focus on it, him being all about that and chasing after it, no, he wants stability. He wants that one person he can turn to. So I say all this to say, don't get discouraged or don't be disillusioned by the men that you've experienced who seem to be fixated on sex. They don't represent the reality of what's going on out there, and they don't represent what the man who's truly for you is going to be focused on. Now, do not confuse that with me saying he's not going to still care about sex, that sex won't still be important to him in the overall relationship. However, his willingness to look past that, at least initially, his willingness to focus on other things, his willingness to focus on the substance of the relationship is going to be there. And for a lot of men, they're not complaining about can't find a woman to sleep with. A lot of men are complaining about can't find a woman to build with, can't find a woman they can truly trust, can't find a woman they can really embrace and truly love, because that's what they really desire, but that is what is harder to find. And so they default to just going after the sex and to sometimes numb the pain, sometimes distract them, sometimes make themselves feel better about themselves, but it doesn't really speak to what they truly desire. So ultimately, do men only want sex? No. A lot of men, all men, there's more to it than that, but I understand why it looks like that. But don't get caught up in that lie. It's not what you think it is. Mostly everyone wants a real relationship, wants love, wants someone they can share life with. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. All right, so let me see. This one says, I'm just tired of men not being honest and playing games. So listen, we just have to make sure we always remember that we don't project bad behavior onto everyone.